Becoming a pilot can be an incredibly rewarding and joyful experience. But when you're first starting out on the journey, it can feel a bit overwhelming. This video is here to teach you how to become a pilot and give you a more complete understanding of everything you'll need to do to become a pilot. Whether you're looking to become an airline captain one day or you simply want to fulfill your dream of earning your pilot's certificate, this guide will help you get started. First and foremost, you need to decide what type of pilot you'd like to be. Training varies based on the type of aircraft you plan on flying as well as the types of certificates you may need. If you're pursuing your pilot's certificate purely for recreational purposes, you may only need to obtain your private pilot certificate and instrument rating. If you plan on flying commercially, you'll have to work your way through a few more ratings. There is also special licensing for gyroplanes, helicopters, gliders, balloons, and airships. In this video, we'll focus on the steps necessary to become an airplane pilot specifically. The amount of time it takes to become a pilot will vary from person to person. If your goal is to get a private pilot rating and stop there, you could likely complete all your training in a month. If you are trying to become an airline pilot, it will typically take about 2 years, assuming you are training full-time. If you do your training part-time, expect that process to take much longer. Choosing a flight school can be a challenging task. If you're going to stay in your local area, you're limited to the few flight schools close by. If this is what you'll be doing, consider visiting the flight school and talking with the chief or assistant chief instructor to learn more about the school and what it offers. There are also a lot of aviation Facebook groups for different areas across the US. You may want to join one in your area and ask people for recommendations. If you're willing to relocate for your flight training, whether for long-term or for a popular accelerated training program, there are many more options. Arizona, Texas, and Florida are states with some of the biggest flight schools since they all offer fantastic year-round flying. When learning how to become a pilot, it's important to know what all of the requirements are to obtain your private pilot certificate. The most basic requirements to earn your pilot's certificate are: first, you must be able to read, write, speak, and understand English. You must also be at least 17 years old, and log a minimum of 40 hours during your flight training, with a certain portion of that being solo time. You also have to pass a knowledge test and your practical exam. The medical requirements are perhaps the first hurdle every pilot must pass. While technically you don't need the medical clearance until you're going to fly solo, it's best to get it done before you begin flight training, so you know whether or not there are any health issues that will disqualify you altogether. You can see the list of conditions that FAA considers disqualifying here. Please note, however, that these aren't automatic disqualifications. In many cases, if the issue is adequately controlled, you may still obtain a medical clearance, but there may be specific limitations. The exam must be performed by an FAA-authorized aviation medical examiner. There are approximately 6,000 of them across the country, so it shouldn't be too challenging to find one in your area. There are 3 different classes of medical certificates. First class is for airline transport pilots, second class is for commercial pilots, third class is for private pilots. Another document you'll need to obtain before your first solo flight is your student pilot certificate. You'll apply for this certificate through the FAA's Integrated Airman Certification and Rating Application, IACRA. You don't need this to start your flight training, so once you begin, your flight school will help you with this. The first official test you'll need to pass is your knowledge test. Your flight instructor will help you prepare for this written test, but you'll also need to do a fair amount of studying on your own time. You'll need to present a certificate when you take the test indicating you have taken the necessary ground instruction. If you fail the test for any reason, you'll be able to find out what areas you need to work on, so you may focus on those areas before you retake the exam. If you pass, you'll still be able to find out what areas you didn't perform as well in, so you can go back and review those things with your instructor. The practical exam is your big final test, before you obtain your private pilot certificate. This is an oral exam on the ground with an FAA certified examiner, along with some time in the air testing your skills and abilities. You'll present the examiner with a variety of documents, before the exam begins, to show you've completed all of the necessary training. During this exam, the examiner will ask questions about aerodynamics, engine components, charts, maps, etc. After you've finished the ground portion of the exam, you'll pre-flight your airplane and take off. You'll demonstrate different maneuvers, and show the examiner you know how to respond in the event of different emergencies. If you satisfy all of the examiner's questions, you'll pass the test and officially become a private pilot. As you progress through various ratings, they all work in a similar manner. You work with a flight instructor to achieve different requirements. Once you've completed those to a satisfactory level, your flight instructor will sign you off and you'll take the test with an FAA examiner. Pursuing your pilot's license and other certificates and ratings can be an expensive endeavor. With prices varying across the US, we'll give you our best approximate cost estimates. Most instructor fees will vary from $50 per hour up to $90 plus depending on what type of plane you're using for your initial training. For our estimates, we'll assume an instructor average of about $65 per hour. Assuming you are completing your initial training in a Cessna 172, your average hourly rental rate is probably between $120 and $170 depending on its age and location. For your private pilot certificate, you'll want to plan on spending between $11,000 and $14,000. Then for your instrument rating, you'll probably need an additional $10,000 to $13,000 since it requires about the same number of hours to complete. If you want to then get your commercial certificate, plan on spending between $3,000 and $5,000. However, there is a big caveat here. To get your commercial certificate, you'll need 250 total hours. If after completing your private and instrument training you have 100 hours of flight time, you'll need to build up another 150 hours, which can be a costly endeavor when you are renting a plane. Finally, to earn your multi-rating, budget between $2,000 and $4,000. While learning to fly can be expensive, talk to just about any pilot and they'll tell you how much they love it. So, this is a simple step-by-step guidance you can follow to become a pilot. If you got this video helpful to you, please give a thumbs up. Don't forget to share the video among your friends. Subscribe the channel to join with us. Thanks for watching.